Hello, hello, and welcome to number 27, which is getting quite a big number, I just realised. And looking back, I think it's been about 7 months since I started this now, so more than half a year, so lots of stuff done. Tonight, as I put out a quick post on the community channels earlier on, is firstly about dog piss. And secondly, some other bits and pieces that need finishing off. Welcome to Kyle, who is a regular on the channel. Nice to have you back, because I know you weren't here last week. What I've been doing this week is very little, apart from this animation of a dog. I made a joke during a live stream a couple of weeks ago when I was doing the intro scene outside the shop, that I just thought it would be typical of the humour and kind of funny if, while the establishing shot happens of the shop, a little dog came along and just started peeing up the corner of the shop, which I thought would be quite funny. And then I was sat the other day, I wasn't at my main computer, I had my laptop with me, and thought, oh, I'll just have a little blast at that. And it turned out all right, actually. It looks really good. So I'm going to start off by showing you a little bit of that. Which sounds bizarre. I can show you a small pixel art animation of a dog taking a piss against a shop, but that's what I'm going to do. And then I've just literally 10 minutes before the stream, as usual, I'm on for about half an hour before the stream starts, just reminding myself of where I was at and looking at things. I've just brought those frames into the Unity scene and there's a couple of problems, so I'm going to work through those problems on the stream. I think it's worth showing you, I guess, some of the issues that crop up when you don't do things properly. Yeah, highlight of your weekend, Kyle, seeing a pissing dog. So this is, I'm going to switch over to my screen. This is the section. So I've got a little white dog. Even got a bumhole, of course, because a pixel art dog has to have a single pixel bumhole. I shall play you the animation, and you can see it in all its glory. So here we go. Toodles over, little sniff of the ground, little lift of the leg, wheeze on the edge of the shop, goes off and sniffs the bin. So there we go. Product of, I would say, close to maybe 2 hours, an hour and a half of animation, quite a lot of frames, and I didn't really, thank you, it is beautiful, especially the spray of urine and the stain that trickles down into the drain. I really didn't think I'd stoop that low, but I think it's amusing, and it will sit quite nicely as the very first shot of the game. Not in this close-up, by the way, this is just a little snip I took of it. So this has been set up just as a separate, so I'm just trying to move this to a different thing, so it's along the bottom instead. It's been set up as a separate sprite file. It's got quite a few frames, quite a few layers. There is, in fact, look at that, there's 3 layers in a group of just dog wee. And I used onion skin as well, so I could do it splashing about. I mean, attention to detail, nothing left to the imagination, and then it even kind of fades out on the path as well. So all of those years at university studying animation, and this is what my life's come to. But I think what my thought was is I didn't really consider the size of the initial shot. So if I go to the where is it? I thought it was called exterior shop. Nope, can't see it. Dog shop. Oh, I thought it was up there. Let's have a look. Go and get it from sprite locations, intro, exterior. So it's quite a wide shot, and I did a live stream about separating this tree out and its leaves and everything that are all animated. A little swinging trainer in the tree. I wanted it to kind of pull in like one of those Seinfeld type shots, where you see the exterior before it starts, There'll be a little bit of music, there'll be a voiceover. I will finish off the graphics because this isn't finished yet, but needs some more detail adding to it, and a little view into the shop so you can kind of see what you're, like foreshadowing what you're about to see. But what I didn't really realise is that the dog would be kind of here-ish during this establishing shot. So when I've exported those frames, it's just 64 by 64 pixels. Turning off the background, you've basically just got this little dog that tootles over. He obviously needs to be lined up with the edge of the shop. And there's like transparency on, I can't believe I'm saying there's transparency on the dog face and stuff. So it should just sit over like the graphics quite nicely. So I just needed to pull that in and have a look, get it positioned. And I just started doing that before the live stream started. And of course noticed the issue. So I've lined him up, I've brought him in, a couple of issues, and it's just typical. Creatively, I like the tree with the couple of branches. They're kind of in the way of the dog. Oh, actually, let me do that full screen. He's sat there doing nothing at the start because I just extended his first frame in Unity, so he's sat there. But he's not doing anything, so that looks a bit weird. He sets off a bit early. He's kind of in the way. I want people to be looking at the sign, really, not at him to begin with. So there's quite a few things that are a bit of a headache there in that intro. And again, because I hadn't planned it properly, I wasn't at this computer. I was just on a laptop and just thought I'd draw the dog. I had the background to go with. So I kind of need to fix that first. So I think I'm going to do that because it'll highlight a couple of things that might be useful for people to know as I struggle to make good of a bad situation, because I'm certainly not getting rid of all that beautiful animation now. The other thing I'll very quickly do, just because somebody else asked on the channel, I have forgotten the username of the, let me find it. I'll find out, this is terrible. Meant to know these things when you're doing YouTube streaming. Let me check my YouTube Studio app. It was a question asked by somebody. The YouTube Studio app, by the way, is sometimes great, but also really difficult to find things. So view all comments, here we go. Here we go. It was Mike2410 a couple of days ago said, did you find the correct way to sort objects like your mug? I wondered if the image canvas needed to be elongated down to where the pivot meets for the character to walk around and be in front of, and then export it into Unity as normal. So very good question, Mike. I said at the time I'll try and go over it on the live stream, and I will. From memory, I think I answered that. I was elsewhere when I answered that, and I couldn't check, but I'll do that quickly before we dive into Dog Piss Central. Let me, because I'll forget otherwise. Let's just go to the office. I'm pretty sure I solved it. So it was this mug, and it was actually some of the other items, this post-it note and things like that, that when Clive walks round the desk, he's walking around the desk, which is one graphics asset. But then these other things all have their own pivot points and their own stuff. So he needs to be able to walk in front of that mug and behind the mug whilst it sits on the desk. So I believe I just used, I did it from memory, I answered originally. I think somewhere here, office desk and items, I put this sorting group, and that sorting group, all of these items are kind of under it. So you can see the mug, the post-it, the PC cable, the email, the login. These are all the bits that go on the screen, basically. So everything on that desk has been put into this sorting group and given a layer that means that everything sits nicely together. So these have all got their own ordering layer on the sprite renderers. 1, 2, 0, 1, and 0. So they sit in front of each other here because that post-it needed to be in front of the other thing. But that sorting group is how I sorted it in the end, by adding them to that and then sorting them on the default layer. It solved the problem. So I hope that answers your question, Mike. If it doesn't, because that's a pretty vague answer, then just give us another shout, stick a comment on here, and I'll go into it in a bit more detail if I can. But that was my solution in the end. I don't think anything needed, like the mug. Let's have a look. I don't think I did anything silly with... No, so you can see the pivots just below the mug. I didn't end up making a really tall sprite and putting the pivot right down the bottom. I think I maybe started doing that. But I think that was my initial thought. I'll just make it a really long, tall sprite, but then he couldn't walk behind it, I think. It was a few months ago, but that seems to be what I did. So that is the solution. I guess you might need to switch the orders, but that sorting group, you might need to change the ordering layer depending on what else you've got in your scene or what layer your character's on. But that did the job for me. So hopefully that answers the question. Right, back to dog pace. The main issues I'm going to have to sort out. I could, let's load up that scene again. I've been contemplating just before the stream ways to fix this. I suppose fix isn't the correct thing, but mitigate the fact I didn't start the dog off screen. I could go back into a sprite and just replicate the walking animation that I did the dog, which was pretty basic, to be honest. He's got like a little hoppy skip thing, but it looks all right. I think perhaps if it was on screen for a lot longer, it might not look all right. So two choices. I either go back to a sprite, make a much bigger sprite than the 64 by 64 so that I can start him, because his first frame is right in the corner of that sprite. You can see that okay? I could make it a 1:8 by 1:8 sprite, start him much lower in the corner, replicate these frames there where he walks. So you can see it goes from the corner of the sprite to the middle of the sprite. So those kind of 14 frames before he stops and puts his head down. I could kind of move that, move them all back, line them all up, have a much bigger thing and look away. Or, and I'm glad you've said it there, Kyle, could have him with his face in a takeaway bag, which is what I think is my preference. So rather than making the sprite bigger, it's like great minds think alike. I thought I might just have him like face down in something. Not sure what I was going to do. It was just something on the floor. It's so far away you wouldn't be able to tell whether it was a takeaway bag or a discarded sock, really. The point being though is I've got this bit of animation where, like this bit where he's got his head down and he's kind of sniffing. I could like flick between a couple of these, his tail's wagging. It would let the viewer know that it was a dog and it was kind of sat here sniffing something. And then only once we get to that nice finish of the zoom, the trees out the way, they've looked at the floor for you, then he kind of sets off, and it's kind of like the little, I feel like the punchline to the intro that he runs off and does that. So I think that's what I'm going to do. The other alternative is to have that little sniffing animation break up his animator. So his animator at the moment, what I've done is here at frame 0, there's 5 seconds where he does nothing and he just sits in that state, and then he sets off walking. So I could just grab all of this, shift it back even further, so that he's just waiting another second before he sets off, but he's just static. So I think if his head's down and he's just snuffling around, then you're kind of seeing all these things as they're happening, and then he wouldn't set off till now. He would set off just after the camera settles there. So I think using this as a time reference, that's like 6 seconds there. I actually think it's closer to kind of 8 seconds that we have to wait, like another 2 seconds. And it would be silly to create all of those frames in a sprite. One, because it's a bit fiddly. But you can see here after about 8 seconds, he sets off there. He sets off a bit quick, to be honest. So that's kind of the time where it needs to happen, and we don't want to fade out as quickly as that. so we can fix the fade out. So that's part of a big action. So we do that smooth zoom, we wait for a couple of seconds, and then we fade out. So I'm going to wait like an extra maybe second, 2 seconds. Then we do the fade out. I think he needs to set off just a second later. So that's 9 seconds in. So I think what I'm going to do is split this animation clip into 2. So there's like the waiting, sniffing bit, and then there's the running off bit, because then I can time it and do it properly, basically. So that's where it wants to sit, does his wait, and then wanders off. So the timing of that feels a lot better. I'd perhaps even just wait another second, so you maybe just see him go and sniff the bins. So I'm trying to get the feel of that right. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. So you just see his tail wagging as you come to this. And the things that are at the front of the shop by the door, I want to try and draw some of them in there as well. So we'll try that. Yeah, the record, it's so far away. I don't think there'll be, well, maybe there will be for comedy effect, the sound of the dog taking a leak, especially the bit where it's going down the drain, but we'll see. There'll be a voiceover on this bit. I think I mentioned before, I'm still not sure whether I'm going to record the voiceover in my voice and then voice change it. I don't know if I'm going to get somebody else to voice over it. I don't have money to pay for voiceover people, so it kind of has to be done myself, I would think. But yeah, I'm going to think about that. But it is that first establishing shot, so I want that first shot of the game to have some humour in it, but also to show that I guess it's a game where I'm spending time animating things I don't have to, that I'm trying to make things like a bit special. It's not a kind of a throwaway game for me, this. I'm trying to spend good time doing good things with it. So that bit where he runs, because he's sat for like 9 seconds, there is no point padding that out with loads and loads of frames. What I think I need to do is do a separate export and just line them up, 2 different animators, and just create an animator controller for it. So let's go to a sprite. Let's get that little like snuffly bit out. I mean, I wouldn't have to grab the frames from the export of this, to be honest, and just reposition him. Shall I do that? Or is that going to be more of a problem? It might be more of a problem, actually. Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Kyle. Yeah, it does. It looks good. I'm happy with the way it looks as well. And yeah, it is just more work, as you say. It's more work, but it's something that I did on a kind of off day. I was like, oh, I'll give that a go. So I think what I'll do is I will add the frames to this, so I can still just do a single sprite sheet export from here, and that he'll be in the right position, the right starting position, and then I don't have to fudge a load of stuff in Unity. So a sprite, whilst amazing at many, many things, I get a little bit kind of caught up with the interface. What I want to do is put a lot of blank frames in front of that, and I'm not sure frame. Is it new empty frame, like Alt and B? I think it pushes everything along. So if I do Alt and B, yeah, it puts it the frame after. So I have to copy those 2 frames, drag them into there, and then do Alt and B on that. Oh, take that one as well. Don't really need the background in here. And there. I just dragged that one to there. I don't know what happened there, that suddenly jumped. So Alt and B, we want to stick in enough frames so we've got some variety on that little sniff. So it's kind of these frames here. I drew a little shadow under him as well, so I've got that shadow on a separate layer because I wanted some transparency to sit over the scene. So again, made a rod for my own back there. So I'm going to take it from that one just before he puts his head down, which is 24. And then all this where he's wagging his tail up to 34. So there's 10 frames there. That's handy. That's exactly what I made. So those 10 frames, 24 to 34, I'm going to hold Alt. I've dragged right, it confused me, but yeah, drag over all the frames, hold Alt, and you get this double cursor when you go at the edge. Click and drag, and that duplicates, and that's 11 frames, 24 to 34. Just screwed that up. Let's just add one more in there, Alt B. So it's now 25 to 35. So 25 to 35. Hold Alt, drag those frames to that, duplicates them. And then this is where I really don't understand what happens. What I want to do is I want to grab all of them, like all of those frames. I think what you've got to do is marquee the pixels you want, then click and drag the frames you want. So that's selected all those frames, I think. And then what I want to do is I want to move them all down here. But I think what happens when you let go, yeah, it only does that one frame. Really, really annoying. So I don't actually know how I can just grab all those frames and move them down here. And I was going to put the onion skin on and make sure he's in the right place. I really don't know what he meant to press to get multiple frames moved. Yes, I have had this issue before, definitely. Because that, I think, oh no, see look, it just did it. It did it there with that whole set. Did it with that whole set, but not the shadow. So maybe you can only do it with one. You can only do it with one layer. Because that's definitely moving him, and that's all of him. If I do both layers and move them, it just moves that. Oh no, it did it all. So it's almost like a refresh issue. So it has worked with multiple layers, but it's when you actually let go your mouse, it doesn't update straight away. And I missed the 11th frame. It's all right, I can live with that. Let's delete that frame. Yeah, so I think it looks like it hasn't worked, and then you scrub the timeline and like it updates. I think these are all slightly in the wrong place. So there's an onion skin thing here, which is so hard to see. I've got a bloody grey dog on a grey checkered background, and this has caused me headaches when I did this the other day. So I haven't quite moved them to the right position because it jumps up there. So the whole lot just want to move up a bit. So we'll try again. We'll click and drag all of them. We'll move them up a bit. And yeah, you see then it snaps into place. Just turn the onion skin off for a second. So he goes down and sniffs, and then he sets off. So that's all well and good. goes down and sniffs, then he sets off, but that's not going to give us 9 seconds worth of sniffing. So, playing back. I think I'm running it in Unity at 10 frames a second, that little bit of animation. So we obviously need 90 frames of that. We need 9 seconds. I could just duplicate that 9 times and make a load of spaces for it, but that's padding out like a massive sprite sheet. It'll be absolutely huge. What I'm going to do is take those 10 frames out as a separate sprite sheet, because on the 11th frame it's like where he springs up, like he's going to then set off. So I'm going to take these out as a separate sprite sheet, bring them into Unity, make them a separate animation clip, put them in an animator controller, and then I'm going to shuffle the order of these round a little bit so that his kind of head comes up a little bit, he sniffs a bit more, his tail goes. I'm worried his tail might go in some different random directions, but we'll just see what it looks like. I'm now like doing that thing that I do where I'm like, would it be easier to just have him running from off screen? After I've just said I'm going to do it this way around. Because it's quite a way to run. You can see the size of the sprite there. I mean, it's not much further. Would also mean, and now I'm changing my mind, it would also mean there was less for the player to get confused with in that first shot. There's like a shoe, there's a tree, there's a car, there's lots going on, there's a dog. Maybe you should just run in at that point from off screen. Let's do that instead. The joys of being in charge. So he needs to stay where he is. We're going to need a bigger sprite. It's not going to need to be 1:8 by 1:8. Let's just do it 96 by 96, so it's another half of that. All right, yeah. It's an extra 32 below here would take him off screen. Would it? I've got enough space for that. 32 by 32. Ooh, it would just about be off screen. All right. I mean, there's no reason why you can't stop there and sniff. But what I'm going to do, just in case I change my mind again, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save another copy of it called Dog Shop Larger. We're going to remove what I've just done. The joys. I'm feeling cocky now because I managed to move all of those frames and it actually worked. So I'm now thinking maybe it wouldn't be such a bother just to get this running bit. Like those frames. And just make the whole sprite bigger. So we go canvas size. We want to extend it in the, oh no, that direction. We're going to do it 96 by 96 instead. So it's a bit wider and a bit deeper, so I can have him come from right down here, which will be off screen effectively. So click OK with that. So this run from there to there, 22, because he stops there on 24. Now let's have it all the way 12 to 24. Take all of them. It's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 frames. So let's just, for safety's sake, give myself enough room to duplicate it a couple of times. This feels like a slightly lazier way of doing it, but I'm all for it if it saves a bit of time faffing. So 25 to 37. Let's take all of them. Copy them to there. So we're going up to from 12 to 24, and we want to grab 12 to 24. We want to move them all down. Now, if I put the onion skin on, you can see there, like it, as you drag out this little marker, the onion skin shows where he's heading. Annoyingly, I kind of want to see where he's been. So the onion skin of where he's been, if you go from 25, it's going to end up down here somewhere. I'm just kind of thinking this through as I go. So I turn onion skin up, it's going to confuse me. So what we've got at the moment is he runs up, and then at 25 he snaps back. So all of this is it better to grab it that way? What I'm trying to do is explain what's going on in my head, because it's not much fun for someone watching on a live stream. I want to make sure that he here at the last of those 24 frames is right in front of where he should be for the next, like for frame 25. Frame 25 is down there. What I might do, because this makes sense, is create a new layer and just stick on that layer a copy of frame 25. And I'll just put where his ears are there in red so I can see it. So I just want to make sure that 24 is lined up behind that. So this frame needs to be moved down all the way to match up with that. So I'm going to grab them in that direction. Oh no, I need to marquee it first, don't I? And I guess I need to marquee the whole area that he occupies. And then grab it like that. And then shift him back. Ah, right. I need that for to be how to duplicate a frame. New. I'll just do Alt D on that. This is my logic, this is how it's going to work. Now I grab all of that and I move him back and let go. He's not going to have moved until I scrub the timeline, which is very annoying. So people who make a sprite, it'd be good if you fixed that. Because now when I move the blade back, it will jump. So that's the frames there. But that's too much of a jump to the next frame. Yeah, so there's a huge jump to the next frame there. So we need to move them a little bit further. Okay. The question is he far enough off screen there? He probably isn't, so I'm probably going to have to repeat the same process. So let's delete all of those frames. Let's play that back. So he does like a little hop, if you like. And that hop, I think, is part of just the timing that I had that was wrong before. So it comes in, there's like a little hop there. You can see where it is, it's there. Bump, and it goes a little bit quick all of a sudden. It would be lovely if that was on the curb. It looked like he was doing it on purpose, but it isn't, unfortunately. So let's just leave it as it is. Let's just pull in another load of frames back. So 12 to 24 again. 13 to 24 actually. So those are going to be pulled into that thing. I'm just going to make a couple of extra ones. I don't want to get caught up with missing a frame. So let's grab all of them. We need to marquee it first, don't we? Marquee all the places he's going to be over that period of time. Make sure they're all within the area. I don't want to get that hop in the start of it. So grab all of them. I'm going to eyeball this one without making a copy of him. Drag it down to there. What have I done? That's miles off. What did I just do there? Oh, you're an idiot. So I need to go to there. It's 24. I forgot to duplicate it. I meant to be duplicating it back to there. And it's those frames. 14's where's coming back. Where's 14? 14, his leg is just on that dark square. So I'm looking at his shadow because it shows me his shadow when I move it. So 13. Drag the shadow back so it's just hitting the edge of that dark square. Too low. So touch higher. And a touch further back. Pretty seamless. It speeds up and slows down a little bit, but dogs do. Got two of them. Never walk at the same pace. So he's starting off screen. I think that's as far as we can hope for. His head might just pop onto the thing. Let's delete these two frames here. So we've got quite a lot of frames there. 95 frames. It's not really a worry for file size or anything because these things are tiny. So we're going to save that, Dogshop large. We're going to export the sprite sheet. This is obviously going to completely screw up all of the like offsets in Unity and things, so I'm just not going to worry about that. We'll just resort it. So I'm doing it as a packed sprite sheet. You can see that it's packed all those frames in as 96 by 96s into one big grid. What I won't do, will I overwrite the one we've got? Yeah, let's just overwrite the one we've got for the moment. So check it's going to do that. Yeah, dog shop. So yeah, we're going to replace that. Export it. Well, it's the first time I've seen a progress bar in AirSprite before. It's the first time I've had nearly 100 frames that are that big. So that's done. We're going to get some weird stuff going on now in Unity. You can see it's cut him off because it thinks the sprite's a different size. So let's go to the dog shop sprite. Let's apply my sprite sheet preset. Click apply. Open the sprite editor. You can see this massive packed sprite sheet, and then we need to set up the slices properly. So they were 96 by 96 this time. So you can hopefully you can see there on the live stream all the little red. If I zoom right away in, it puts in little red lines of where all the slices are for all those frames. And pivot. I did have it in the center before, which was a mistake, come to think about it, because I've made it bigger that way. It would have been better to have it top left, so I'm going to put it top left this time. Slice, so that slices all of that one big PNG up into the things. Click apply. So then these are all our individual frames now. So that's all sorted. These will be all the frames down here. This is going to be a right royal mess. So I'm just going to delete it. Let's put it back in again. So let's grab all of them, drag it into there. I think I had a dog pre. I don't know why I called it dog pre. Dog larger. So that's that in there. You can see him there. We need to bring him up to layer 10 so we can see him. He's obviously the wrong size at the moment. I'm going to drop him into the set geometry thing, reset his transform. He's now the correct size but in the wrong place. So we want to grab that. It's top left now, which I don't like using top left because it's always like way off where you're wanting to start. So this is totally dependent on where that wall is. So a little tip here, make sure it's maximized to show you the tip. And then I'm going to have to unmaximize it to get rid of it. He's going to set off. He's going to set off straight away. All right. So I've just hit pause. Difficult now because it's hidden behind other stuff. What I'm trying to do, let me unmaximize it. What did I do to get him to the right size? My set geometry parent object has got a funny scale on it, and I decided this in livestream 1, and it was me taking my small pixel art stuff and making it big enough that it filled the camera frustum, like the visible bit of the Unity scene, and this arbitrary 3.4 scale means that all the artwork here just overlaps where the camera can see. So I never see this grey background in Unity or anything. So I lose a few pixels around the side, but it's kind of helpful for some of the ways the cameras move. So yeah, I just dropped him into there and then hit reset. So it sets all these scales to 1. So it's basically scaling the dog up by 3.4. So that it just matches everything else in the scene, basically. But what I'm trying to do here, I could do with turning the tree off for a kickoff. That might cause an error actually because it's looking for it. What I'm going to do is pause the animation when he cocks his leg so that I can then reposition the dog correctly. So if I just play focused so we can grab it. I'm just going to wait till he cocks his leg and I can see the trickle going down the edge of the wall. Right, there. So I've paused it there. If I zoom in, you can see there's a trickle that actually just unpause, just let it run, literally let it run a little further. So he's in the wrong place there, but now I've got it paused. I can go to scene view, grab hold of the dog sprite, hit W to get the movement keys back up and position him where he needs to be for this to look right. This is another reason why I don't like top left. It sometimes ends up off the screen. So it just needs to be that shadow on the corner. I kind of want that to be there where he is. I can always check what I had in here when he cocks his leg. There. I just turn on this bit again. You can see there's a dark pixel that's one like diagonally off the corner of the thing. That little dark pixel where his shadow overlays. Oh, I'm pretty much bang on there, so that's good. I mean, we're not pixel locked when we're in Unity, so if you want it to be exactly right, you'd have a hard time, but that's pretty close. There's a tiny bit of overlap, but that's pretty good as it is. So we know he's going to arrive in the right place at least. So before we click stop and lose that, that's the exact position. So I'm just going to copy the position of the dog sprite, click stop, it'll jump back to this other position, and then I can just go paste position. So that's now in exactly the right space. Click play. And he should tootle over, hit his mark, and wee perfectly down the building, and then have a sniff at the bins. So that's all good. That's lined up. What I need to know now, and it's almost like I've hidden it from myself. I thought this would be the case. His head's going to be on the screen. Right, let's play it maximised. The joys. So his head's going to be at the bottom of the screen. Oh no, I need to pause him. Zoomed in as well. So this we don't want him to set off straight away. It's not going to be 9 seconds now because he's jogging on from somewhere else. So let's say it's 7 seconds and set to 10 frames a second. So I just want to see if his head's poking onto the screen, basically, which is going to be because I know my look. Yes, it is. Head's poking onto the screen. There he comes. Little Waz. Yeah, so he wants to set off sooner. So what I'll probably do, I don't know how to do an empty frame. Interesting. So because the camera zooms in, what I can do is the first frame of the animation could just be like a single pixel, because I don't know how to do a blank frame. Let's just have a look at that. I'm trying to get the timing right here. So he's basically, there's going to be a blank frame first, so you never see his ears. And he's kind of setting off about now, yeah. There he is. As his way. Suppose that it's still a little bit late. I want to see him get to the bin. So he needs to set off sooner. Six seconds-ish. But this first frame, which is the top of his head, is basically a problem. So all I'm going to do is go back to A Sprite, and on that first frame, where we know his head's popping onto the screen, we're basically going to delete him. So I'm just going to get the eraser, rub him out, and maybe just leave his shadow in there. So I'll leave his shadow there on that first frame, save that, re-export it, export the sprite sheet. Oh, I forgot to turn the background off. Cancel that. Turn the background off. File, export sprite sheet. We're gonna overwrite the one we did. Come back to Unity, and it now means that first frame is not there. There's only the shadow, which was off the screen. Because it's not important to us. He's just got a blank frame, so there he's missing now out of the scene. Camera zooms in. He'll be setting off now, yeah, there he is. It's actually quite nice with the camera move. As his way, heads off towards there, and then we get the face. So, too soon, because he disappears, and I don't want to add any more frames at the end of that, so we just bring him to be nearly 7 seconds. it's going to be perfect. Spent nearly an hour messing about with a dog having a piss. That's my live stream for you. There we go. There he comes. Has his way. Perfect. Don't see the frame jump at the end. Good. Let's keep the story. You're right. You're absolutely right, Kyle. It's these are really important bits of narrative. Turn the tree back on. This is where the tree, of course, is going to be in the bloody way or something. Let's see what it looks like with the tree on, because that move of the tree as well gives it a bit of parallax. But then it's nice because the dog's not in your face here. You read the floor for you, and it's like, oh, cool. And it's like, oh, it's a little dog. Brilliant. The time, I'm really happy with the timing, actually. Great. So to finish off this bit, thank you. Yes, perfect. I would use those same words as well. I feel like I've still got a bit of artwork to finish on that intro exterior. What I want to add in really is some of the detail from inside the shop. So on here, it sounds like he's got, I mean, at this point, I think the intro script, I started writing the intro script up here somewhere. Where is it? That was someone's comment about SpongeBob Krabby Patty. I was going to do that, wasn't I? Intro script. So it's this bit. It's Monday morning at the Stockton branch. I'm not sure if it's going to be Stockton or Newcastle. I still haven't decided on these things. It was going to be Birmingham for a bit. It's this store manager, Clive Bottomley, is diligently hoovering up the remains of a dead pigeon he found on the laminate flooring display. So obviously, as you get to that bit, we're inside the shop. So it's kind of going to start with early morning bird song, a little bit of music, the sounds of like a town or city waking up in the distance. And that it's Monday morning at the Stockton branch of, that's the bit of voiceover that will come over this bit. And as the camera pulls in, the sound of the hoover is going to be like you're hearing a hoover from outside a shop. And then when it cuts to inside the shop, it's obviously louder and he stops hoovering. So I've done the animation of that hoovering. I did that on a different live stream. So it really is like a slow scene setting bit just to ease people into that, give you a sense of where all this is set in this one little carpet shop. So what I might try and do now, just so I feel like I've got some of this scene finished, and just for a bit of a break on Unity stuff, let me open up the shop interior. You can see the tree, look, there's continuity for you. Double yellow lines in front of the shop. The things you can see from outside, from the angle that you're looking at, are probably pretty slim. You can actually see, or you might be able to see, this would be reflective as well, of course. I've got the doors on here, I think, already. All right, I didn't make them in the way I thought I did, but they'll need some like reflections over the front of them. You wouldn't be able to see right the way in, but I do want to try and put some detail there. I don't want it to just be like a plain white thing. So let's do a bit of drawing. I like a bit of drawing. So I'm going to think about what we could see here. I might do this actually in a separate group. Let's copy that out of there. Just magic wand those two bits, copy them from there. Reflection. So all I've got is just those bits of glass ready to put a reflection over. We're going to do a new layer there, maybe behind it, call it interior, and then stick both of these in a new group called interior group. So into this area, actually, if I select that, I'm kind of painting into those areas. Let's take the reflection and just, I'll do it like that for now. I'm going to put some like lines on it and things in a minute. I'm just going to move this as well. If you didn't know, you can shift this over to the right, which is where it normally is. If I'm drawing, I usually have it at the right. If I'm doing lots of animation, I usually have it at the bottom. And then the other thing you can do, you can take this, snap it there as a separate thing. So I'll just have a little look at what I could see from there. So you've got two documents open at the same time there as well. So we're going to be able to see the rug. We're going to be able to, the rug, the, I don't know what you call it, doormat. Doormat, you might be able to see over as far as like these rugs and things here. Don't want to put a huge amount of detail in this, but it does need some kind of perspective to it. So with that interior layer, I'm just going to create another one ready. Well, I'll just, oops, sample this floor colour. It's all going to be a slightly different colour anyway, because we're at like we're kind of outside looking in, if you like. There's this checkered pattern. We've got a darker grey. I mean, this is going to be probably more detailed than is required here. But I just want to give a feel for some of the colours and tones and things that are inside the shop. We're going to have that rug. Rug. Called it a rug again. You know what I mean. It's going to be a bit big. I mean, it does actually extend to the whole thing of the door, so it's not too big. Like that. Some of these kind of browns and things from over here, I'll just suggest. Oops. I'm not drawing very straight tonight. Something bright orange over here, isn't there? Something like that in there. A bit of that. I'm going to tone all of this back as well in a minute. These kind of cabinety things. I've left the marquee selection on there as well, by the way, just so I'm not drawing anything outside of those areas. Something like that. In that colour, and it's picking up the other colour as well, which is annoying. That's the one I want. Mm. Oops. Oh, hello, a new user, James W. Frost. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the elevator pitch. Do you know, James? First of all, welcome to the stream. The elevator pitch is something I'm yet to refine, but ultimately, this is the story of Clive Bottomley, a common or garden carpet salesman who's done nothing much for the majority of his life until one day he discovers something in his carpet shop which completely changes his life and thoughts on flooring. It's, I guess, a silly, humorful point and click game. As you can probably tell, not refined the elevator pitch yet. It's something which is part of the next phase, which I guess I've just to say started, which is like the branding of and marketing of what this is going to be. So I think on the last live stream I was working on this stuff. Intriguing, yeah. Which is some of the first visuals for like the branding of, the name of, and things like that. So I've been working on title Under the Carpet, I think it's going to be called now, that will have that, I guess, the slogan, the elevator pitch bit of it, that wraps up in a couple of sentences what the game's all about. But ultimately, it's still something which as I do more and more of these live streams, I've revealed so many bits and twists and turns in the game, it seems kind of pointless hiding the main fact, so I'll slip it in. As you're a brand new user, James, and you've come on the stream and asked, he finds something in the storeroom which leads to a secret underground bunker. And that underground bunker, you've seen me drawing some of those bits. It turns out there is a cult of carpet lovers who are truly against the modern fad of hard flooring. And it's like a ridiculous, silly, but funny cult who are all ex-carpet store managers as well, who have been ultimately sabotaging carpet shops and sabotaging laminate flooring and things for the love of the weave. And this escalates into them hoping that Clive is like the young blood that will continue their life's work of promoting carpets. So it's totally ridiculous, but something I found very funny when I kind of started thinking about some of the people that I have bumped into in carpet shops before. And like some of the older people who really like carpet a little bit too much, and are like, oh, you can't really beat a good shag, or you can't really beat a woven pile. And yeah, that's part of it. And exactly as you say, James, it's like it has to, for this style, for that retro point and click thing, it's got to have that silliness, I think, for it to work. So yeah, that's the gist of the story. And again, because I'm a one-man band, I'm doing all of this myself. I can't set the scope too big. I've done some big scope things before that have never got beyond the first act. Two of the games that I've got that are out there are both Act 1s only because the scope's been really big. So I'm trying to keep this within a doable scope. I think my very first live stream talked about this diagram, which kind of kept it down to a few different areas, so that there just wasn't a huge amount of work to do, but a huge amount of pixel art work to do. But it's a massive undertaking anyway, just with this amount of locations. So it's not a huge game. It's quite a compact game. I still hope it'll be a good few hours of gameplay for somebody. like and fun hours at those. But yeah, this is no epic Monkey Island. This is something that I'm hoping to be able to achieve. Certainly in the next year, it should be done. So yeah, there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, and I'm the same, James. To be honest, I like something that I can play over maybe a couple of evenings. That then just it's like, oh, that's nice and complete and well-rounded and finished. There's plenty of other games in the world that will take up your entire life. So I think in this type of thing, it doesn't want to be too long. I started playing actually the other night. My wife and I started playing The Case of the Golden Idol. It was on offer on Steam, and it's fantastic. It's so well made. The puzzles so well thought out. And to be honest, I think I was reluctant buying it originally, even though loads of people had reviewed it as being fantastic, because of the art style. And I really shouldn't. Like, you should never judge a book or a game by its cover. But I looked at a couple of the videos of it on Steam, on the Steam store page, in fact, and I thought, I don't know if I can get away with some of the simplicity of it. It doesn't feel like it's as polished maybe as I would like a game to be. But I didn't realise just how creative they've been with that, and it's actually beautiful. Now I've been playing it for a couple of hours. Similarly, I've bought another game yesterday. Again, indie game. I like ones that are made by a few people because it helps me set my expectations. What it's called now? I think it might be called Upstairs. Is it called Upstairs? Again, pixel art one. It professes itself to be very short, an hour or two worth of play. Haven't started playing it yet, but really simple pixel art, beautiful. But I'm looking forward to playing that as well, yeah, because I like something that's kind of done in an evening or done in 2 evenings. I've got Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and No Rest for the Wicked and games like that that'll keep me entertained for months. So yeah, I do like something short in this style. What I'm going to do, I think, cracking back on with this, is just darken off the rest of this. Just going to whack in a load of darkness there. Probably darker than that, in fact, come to think of it. It's part of the shop you never see in the game, for one, and for two, the light from this front window wouldn't really get that far, I don't think. Biggle Boss. Yes, I have started playing Biggle Boss. Again, that's something a bit bigger, and the guy who made it, I mean, I'm one of his patrons, and the process he went through from doing that was a bit of an inspiration to me. I'd made a couple of games and never done anything like this, never done like YouTube streaming or any of that type of documentary of the thing I made, and I kind of regretted it because some of the, like Something Foul Afoot, which I made years ago, all in Flash and Visionaire Studio, I think. It was in something else before that as well. I've got kind of no memory as I get older of like how I did some of that stuff. Like, there's just so much pixel art in it. But I wanted to, when I saw the Biggle Boss guy doing that, the Biggle Boss guy, terrible that I can't remember his name, I thought, you know, I should do that next time I venture forth on a game, or when I decided to, the Polycity Stories game that I've got on Steam, Act 1, Adam Bunker, thank you there, Kyle. The way Adam was doing it, I thought, first of all, I wasn't like going to be able to commit as much time as he committed to it. I think he quit his job to do it. But the way he was doing it, just being totally open, honest, just cracking on with it, his little kind of visualized podcasty things are excellent. And I didn't have the time to edit all of that stuff as well. But he was definitely an inspiration in starting to do this on YouTube, really, because I thought I kind of want a record of it this time. I actually finish it and and have a complete record. But I've really enjoyed it, and not least because of the community, people who've joined the live streams and have come up with some great ideas over the time that I maybe wouldn't have come up with myself. And I think it's kind of nice doing something where everyone's a bit involved in it. Makes everyone else feel a little bit of ownership about a game that's coming out as well. Right, from that angle, I think that is probably all I need to do. Yes, James, 100%. Yeah, and to Kyle's point as well, Remote Lime, real name Kyle, starting it is the difficult bit. Continuing it and holding yourself accountable to continue it is the next difficult bit. And having a YouTube channel now with really, really gratefully over 1,500 subscribers, it means there's people there who are watching, there's people who are watching them back, people asking questions, and you do then think, oh, I should really make an effort to get some more stuff done this week. Those people have committed and invested their time in me. So yeah, it definitely does help, James. And these Sunday evenings as well. Sundays are sometimes hard. I've driven 2.5 hours today. I've been to York and back, and I've been out and about. I was out last night quite late watching Greg Davies actually from Taskmaster in Newcastle. So I had a really late night last night, and I thought about 3 or 4 hours ago, I really want to do a live stream, but I'm really tired. But yes, you do. It's definitely helpful. I would recommend it, but don't take it lightly. There's quite a lot. There's quite a lot to do to keep the live streams going and keep all other content flowing. And I've also got like a big list of tutorials when people ask me things on the community part. I kind of make notes on my phone on a thing called Todoist, which I can recommend. It's free, like things to do. I keep records there of the kind of tutorials people are asking for and things like that. Oh, and another new user, good evening, Brian Zanini. Great to have you along. Thank you very much for the follow and for following and watching videos. I'm glad that the slicing things in Sprite has been useful for you, because yeah, it was for me. When I found out about that, I was like, oh God, that's worth making a tutorial for. So if I've saved you, Brian, hours of tedious work, then it's all been worth it. And same to quite a few people who've commented on that particular tutorial. Yeah, it is some tedious stuff that needs done if you've got lots of sprites. And I still use it, that little batch script I've wrote for slicing up my items. I still have here, items all. There are the items from the game, and I use exactly the same batch script that I made on that tutorial to slice all these. Every time I add an item, I just run the batch again, and it cuts them all out, dumps them all into Unity, and saves me hours. So yeah, selfishly, Brian, it's saved me lots and lots of hours as well, but I'm glad it's been really good for everyone else. Right, what I'm going to do here then is, just on top of all of that, I'm just going to think about now the shadow that I've put across here is as if the sun's over at the top left. We've got a shadow dropping like this way forwards. But I think just to help make all this drop back a bit, what I want to do is kind of suggest that the light coming in from the street wouldn't go that far back. Now, I'm hoping to just take... Why is that not drawing on there? Try that again. It does work. So, just gonna curve, fill that in, bring that opacity down a bit. I'm just trying to make it like it's darker at the back of the shop, so the light's just spilling in from the front. What I might do is do that again, even further up, fill them in, and then drop that back, the opacity again. So we've just got a little bit of graded darkness, and then on top of all of this, of course, I'm going to add the reflection bit back in. So I didn't want a completely like reflective thing there. So there we go, that kind of looks like you're looking in the shop, and then when you see this as the next scene, you get some visual cues that like that is the shop that you were looking at from outside. So just to give you a before and after of that opening scene. Oops, sorry, my mouse is going a bit crazy. This interior group, if I turn that off, that was it before. I feel like an optician. Is it better with number 1 or number 2? Number 1 or number 2? So I think that's helped a little bit. That just sells that front bit. The other thing, of course, is it's got a open sign on it. So I'll just put that, well, it's a closed sign at this point. Not enough pixels to write open. The shop's currently closed, so it's open on the other side. What I'll do there, just behind the reflection, let's just put a sign in there. Sign. Turn these to shadow. Shadow. Terrible at forgetting to name things. My university tutor, 26 years ago now, when I was first learning Photoshop, I always used to say that. Need to name your layers, name your layers. And I'm still rubbish at remembering. So let's just put a little sign in there. It's going to be very light, actually. It probably just needs to be black. So it's not going to be readable from that distance, but just for continuity, there was a little sign in there. So still not finished that scene. It's the very first thing people are going to see of my game. It's the very first, I guess, unveiling of the art style and everything else. I've thought of other things I'd quite like to do in it. Maybe have something going on in the skyline. Maybe have the trees moving and things got the leaves moving. But just because it's the first shot, I want it to be nice. So let's just export that and let's get that into Unity. Let's see it with the dog, and then I'll probably move on to another bit. So let's export the whole exterior canvas, just the selected frame. Export. Oh, hang on. Why didn't that give me? Oh, right there. Sorry. Into exterior. So just making sure I was copying over the right one. Go back to Unity. There we go. You saw the graphics update there. Just popped in. So we should now have the opening scene. Let's click play. Or most of the opening scene. Fades in. Sounds of the morning. Oh no, hang on. I've got a problem. Oh, spot the problem. Got to turn off the tree layer. So I've just exported the tree baked into the layer. So turn off the big tree and the animated leaves and the shoe. That's the back plate now. So just export, overwrite that. Try again. Take a drink. There we go. Here comes our little fella as well. Beautiful. Skips up the curb. Nice big slash against the building. And then we move it to inside. Excellent. So I'm happy with that. That come together quite nicely. The first scene, of course, the shop floor. Clive will actually be hoovering in that to go with that first intro text, wherever it's gone. Yeah. Monday morning at the Stockton branch, floor for you. Store manager Clive Bottomley is diligently hoovering up the remains of a dead pigeon he found on the laminate flooring display. Still puzzled by how it got in, Clive hoped the week holds no more surprises. He couldn't be more wrong. So that bit where he's hoovering, I just don't think it's turned on at the moment. Yeah, so we've got an intro played check there. So if I just go and switch that variable, if I can find it. My dog's barking in the background, you've probably heard that. Intro played, true. If I just swap that to false, then, oh, he should be hoovering. He is. Yeah, so that, I think there's a couple of things I'm going to need to sort out here because the camera's probably not in the right place for that. Oh, actually, no, maybe I did a camera move from the door. So kind of continuing this little zoom. And we'll have the sound of the Hoover and the city in the distance. And he's hoovering up. Yeah, and there was just some placeholder text out at the bottom there. Puts down the Hoover. And then it's realising that the laminate flooring lights are out. Somebody's removed the bulbs. Plays back to what James asked earlier. And it sets you up on your first thing to go and find the bulbs from the storeroom. So, some of the stuff that I need to do, I think, this evening. What time are we on now? 9 o'clock. Be able to get some other bits and pieces done. So, later on in the game, I think you probably saw a piece if you watched some of the other live streams where I was doing this character who's one of the mysterious elder statesmen. Have a look. It's in here somewhere. Characters, customers, fish tank guy. He appears on one of the tutorials as well, like this shifty character with the fish tank. He's also on the title screen, hiding behind the carpets. He asks Clive to go and get, or he comes in with a vintage carpet sample, hoping that he might still have one of these, or an offcut that he can use. So Clive has to go into the storeroom to find these vintage offcuts. And when I drew the storeroom originally, I didn't actually decide which box they were going to be in. I'm just going to close some of these. I've saved them. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? So let's open up the storeroom. Storeroom. There we go. So it was going to be this box here. And I'm wondering whether these should all just remain in the shadows like that, or whether I want to draw another box. I think, frankly, I don't need to draw another box. There's plenty of boxes in here. You don't get anything out of these. This one being here at the front is kind of useful because you can then do like a bend to pick things up facing forward. So I'm just thinking out the best way to do it. So I think this is going to end up being just a hotspot over the edge of it. and it might be one of those hotspots which at the start of the game it's not activated, and only after you've kind of been asked to look for some vintage samples do all of the boxes then highlight, because otherwise you've got a load of dialogue that might be irrelevant at the start, or lots of if statements that you need to switch because the player doesn't know yet that they've been asked for vintage samples, and that would just cause a lot of headache. So I think what I'm going to set up is a few box hotspots, it's a mouthful, that we can then trigger at a certain time. I think that's the best way to do it. So let's open up the storeroom. As I say, every time I open the storeroom, this whole light thing, which is really cool, being able to turn the lights on and off, is always a problem to develop with, because you need to turn them off here and change the variable to say that they're on in this room. So lights are on, true. Actually, do you know what's better? Let's do that. I don't know what I'm doing here. If I turn that off. Oh, let's just turn it off. Not going to look pretty, but at least I should be able to click on things. Oh no, you can't. Yeah, he'll refuse to walk in. No, it's too dark there because I've just hidden the lights. Oh, God. I almost be quicker just to not try and work this out. Just turn them back on. Back. Hello, I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly. Karask, welcome all the way from Chile. Nice to have you on the live stream. Thank you for supporting and coming on. I'm just doing my usual backwards and forwards, debating the best way to work in this particular room because of the light switch thing. So it's these boxes here. I'm going to add, so these, the box of bulbs is there from earlier. Some of the boxes here, I haven't put any hotspots on those. I can't remember what these say now. It's been neatly organised as boxes of junk is what it says. Box of random light bulbs. You'd be amazed how many we go through. So these change dependent on the puzzles. So I think these other ones I'm going to add will maybe say one thing at the start and something different once you get going, or they just won't even be visible. And then when you come back in looking for something, there'll be more hotspots. I think that's a nicer way of revealing more. Oh, there's the elastic band. A really thick elastic band. That's the previous live stream. I worked on the elastic band, the shelving bracket, and the gum, because that creates a nice slingshot for a puzzle later on. So you've got all the stuff here, shelf bracket, elastic band, and they get combined into a makeshift slingshot. All of that's in another live stream, setting all of that up. So what I'm going to do then is come into here, just block out some of the hotspots, and then maybe set them up so that they're just not visible until a certain point. So I can see what I'm doing in the editor. I'm just going to turn off that light setting and go to the hotspots we've got. I'm just going to look at this boxes one because I can't remember. It would have been months ago. Yeah, so there's no if statements or anything in them. They are literally one thing. Scene view. But the box of bulbs is something that gets used. Yeah, so you can see I've got a pop-up switch here. And I always, you can see the pop-up variable, it's one of my puzzles. So if they haven't started the puzzle, it just says a box of random light bulbs. If you know that you need 2 bulbs, then it says a box of light bulbs. Perfect. I'll grab a couple and then it picks them up, puts them in your inventory, and he says something. So And then once you've completed it, he says that box of bulbs I amazingly pulled the perfect pair of bulbs from. So you've got like all these variants on that one hotspot, and I kind of don't want to have to set all of that up for all of these other boxes in the room. So I'm going to just block out some hotspots and then decide probably on a local variable that just sits in this room to tell that local variable whether we're at the point where Clive's coming in looking for these vintage carpet samples, at which point we'll turn on all of the other boxes, just to give you some amusing dialogue as you go around each of these boxes. Yeah. Oh, just saw that comment there from Kyle. Yes, it is very nice to have more people on here tonight. Huge thanks for all the support. It's really nice having lots of people along on the live streams. Hugely appreciative of all the recent subscribers and followers and things. It's really encouraging, and as James said, it keeps me accountable to keep doing these things as well. So let's get some new hotspots drawn. Really simply, I'm just going to hit the new hotspot button. I'm not quite sure actually why they aren't going into this hotspots folder. By default, they normally do. Let me just check actually. Let me go and open another scene. Underscore hotspots with a capital H. I wonder if what I've done. No shop floor. Yeah, underscore hotspots with a capital H. In this room, if I create a new hotspot 2D, they automatically go into there. And for some reason, they're not in that other scene. Don't know why. Let's not worry about it for now. We shall work out what's going wrong. Yeah, underscore hotspots. Hotspot 2D. Dumps it down there. Not a clue. Thank you, Carl. Yes, thank you for joining. And I am also glad you got to see the pissing dog get added to it. Yeah, take it easy too. I will see you next Sunday, I think. Yeah, I think I'm here, and we'll be cracking on as usual. Cheers, cheers, Cal. Thanks for joining. Right, let's get some of these hotspots sorted then. I don't know why they're not dropping into the correct folder, but we're just gonna make a few of them, see if we can speed this up a bit. We're gonna, I don't want to draw the yellow cube because I'm gonna turn these into polygon colliders rather than box colliders. So I'm just going to remove that, add a polygon collider instead, because then I can edit the shape of them to fit these boxes. So these are kind of mostly off screen anyway, that's one. But I'm going to use this as the basis for a few. So let's just call it box. No, I'm thinking ahead. I'm just going to call them box underscore because I'm going to make quite a few of them. So we're going to make sure we've got everything set up that we need to. So the label name is box, and we'll change these as we need to. The use interactions, we're going to set up a couple of them, but cursor for them. I'm just going to make one and then duplicate them so that I don't have to click all these things each time. I need to set his trigger there. They're going to have different walk to markers, so there's nothing I can set up there. They need to be limited to the camera where the lights are on, because if the lights are off, you can't see anything in the room, so that's important to do. And I think that's probably all I can do. On a player action should be walk to marker and face after moving. These are all things I'm going to have to do lots of times. We need to set a separate marker for each one, so I'm not going to set that up. So that'll do. That's kind of my template. Let's drop it into the hotspots folder just so that keep it neat. So I'm going to take that one. I know this is quite small on the preview on the live stream, but I kind of need to see what I'm doing, unfortunately. Let's move all of these over a bit. I'll be able to make that a bit bigger so you can see what's going on. Slide that across. So we're going to take that one and then just duplicate it, move it over here, and then just edit the polygon collider. You can just click to add new edges to that. So we'll have another box there. Go back to another one, duplicate it, move that one. And this is because at this point in the game, you're going to be looking for a box with vintage samples in it. So you're going to want to go around and check what each of them are. And we'll have some funny responses for each of these as well. So let's mark out that box. Duplicate again. Press W to move it, and it just renamed it. So these boxes as well, I might not do them all. What I'm doing here, by the way, is the little label that's got the name on. I'm positioning that where it's useful for it to be. And then I'm going to move the polygon collider edges. So I don't think I'll do each individual box because that just gives me even more work to do. Oops. Just grab that edge. You can refer to these as both of them. These two have got. So that one we'll call small boxes. I can even start to think of some silly things that this could say. So let's call it small boxes. Let's duplicate that one. Shift it up. Edit the collider. Tiny boxes. Don't get to change the name, otherwise this name here, like box underscore bracket 2, will appear when you mouse over them. So yeah, they need a label if you don't want it to use the name. And they're all going to use this same walk to marker here, which I can't remember what it's called. It is called plant storeroom. It's the one that's used for that plant. So the small boxes and the tiny boxes can use the walk to marker of plant storeroom. Plant storeroom. I suppose I should do that box there as well. So duplicate that. Actually helping me, that's the top boxes. Middle boxes, that's more helpful for me as developer to know which is which. Even makes sense to put them that way around. So the lower box, that one, let's do appreciate people joining the live stream today. I know this isn't the most exciting activity, but live streams generally, we started with a pissing dog tonight and have moved through a bit of pixel art and are now onto laying out boxes. I try and mix it up a bit on the live stream so it's not all one type of thing, but sometimes it just happens to be work that needs to get done, which in this case is a lot of boxes. I think those ones by the door will do them as well. Or what I'll do is I'll show you how I'm gonna set these up. So that they only become visible at a certain point in this puzzle chain. I haven't thought about how I'm going to do it actually. I think I'm going to use a local variable and then just change that local variable. Or it have to be a global variable because it's going to get changed by some actions that happen in a different scene. So let's do that. So many different ways of skinning a cat that I don't know which way to is best to do it. So there's a conversation that happens in Act 2 with the weird fish guy, and after that conversation, once we know in the puzzle that we need to find these carpet samples, that is when these should be available, and I probably haven't got around to creating that puzzle chain yet. The plan for it, oh, it sounds like it's dog walk time. The plan for it is over here. So customer arrives asking for an old sample, he's carrying a fish bowl, taking the fish for a walk. You're looking for the small box of vintage samples, and you grab the old sample. And then when you got back to the shop, the customer's gone and he's sabotaged something, or something's been sabotaged. Tyler goes for lunch. So it's after these bits have been done and the customer conversation happens where we then need to change a variable so that then all of these boxes that you're going to search through become available. So a couple of ways of doing it. Each of these hotspots, I think we could set it so that they're just disabled, and then we could enable them all in one action that went through and enabled them all at the same time that you're having that conversation with the guy. The other alternative is to use a limit to camera trick. Now, the problem I've got in this room, and I said that about 10 minutes ago, is because I'm already using limit to camera for the light switch on and off, what I'd have to do is create a third camera, and basically when you turn the light switch on, or do a check when you come into this scene, and basically have a third camera where all of those boxes become visible too. The problem is that some of these other ones that are set up to only limit to that one camera, that would cause me a problem. I'd need two different cameras and you don't get two different slots here. So I think I'm going to have to go around the slightly long way. I'm just talking through my thought process here, by the way. I'm going to have to go around the slightly long way, which is unfortunate, but I think the only way to do it. No, it isn't. I've thought of a fourth way to do it. All of the hotspots that I want to only be visible and usable at that certain point in time, if I get them all, so all these boxes that I've just got, and I put them in a parent object, I can then move that parent object off screen and only bring it on screen when that occasion happens. So I'm thinking as I'm talking here. So all of these, if I create in the hotspots thing, create an empty game object and call this, let's just call it vintage boxes, because then it'll remind me this is during the vintage puzzle. All of that transform position, everything is 0, 0, 0. We're going to put all of these hotspots inside that vintage boxes parent, so they're all in exactly the right place. And then what we're going to do is move all of them off screen so that they don't appear in the game, they're not clickable or anything at all. And then at the moment that we get to that bit of conversation where he asks Clive for the vintage carpet samples, we'll then snap all of these back to 0, 0, 0. So next time you come in the room, they get pushed to that position. That is a much simpler way of doing it, I think, than cycling through all the different things. So let's zero it out. let's try this out. And first of all, let's just try this scene out as it is. Let's turn the lights back on or off, as the case may be. So you shouldn't be able to see anything because we're using a camera that's called lights off. As soon as I hit the light switch, we're then using a camera that's called lights on. So everything suddenly becomes visible. Tiny boxes, small boxes, tiny boxes, cardboard box, and all the other things that are not visible while the lights are off. So those ones we want to hide. So what we're going to put here on the parent, we're going to put something called remember. So this is a adventure creator action called remember transform. So ultimately this object, it gets a little save icon on it, and in the engine it will remember its position, and it means we can move it whenever we want. I could do it with remember visibility, but I've got a feeling that even remember visibility, you'd still be able, these would still be enabled, the hotspots, so that would cause a problem. So we'll do it with remember transform. What we really need to do is set another marker that's way off screen, so we can just move it to that marker. So let's create a new marker 2D. I could just do it by coordinate, but let's do it this way. Marker 2D, and I'll just call it green. And let's move that like way off screen. Let's put it below. So there's no chance that any of the, when it like moves that box to there, then there's no way they're going to be on screen. So what we could do is when this scene starts, there's a cutscene which checks which lights are on and lights are off. We could at the same time, so let's do action list run in parallel and 2 outputs. So we're going to run that one that just checks what state the lights were in last time we left the room, and then we're going to run this one which will basically check, are we doing that puzzle, or are we at that point in the game where all these boxes need to be made available? So it's going to be, we're going to check a variable, so it's a variable check, a global variable. We haven't made it yet, so we should go and make it. So create a new global variable. Let's call it, so it's after the, it's in Act 2. Act 2, vintage samples, let's call it, because you're asked to go and look for some vintage samples. So it starts as false. So we're just going to check it, Act 2 vintage samples. I've started naming these in different acts because I'm getting so many variables. Good tip for anybody else who's doing stuff in Adventure Creator. Once you start getting lots of variables, I found it useful to put a act in front of it, and then you can just search for that particular thing, or you can filter by those particular things. So then if I just went Act 2, it only shows the Act 2 variables and things like that, which are handy. So vintage samples, if it's true, like we've already been asked for it, then what we want to do is what is it we want to do? We want to do object transform the movable object that we want. Oh no, it isn't object transform, is it? So we want to move the vintage boxes. So we're doing teleport to a marker. So, oh no, this is the way around, isn't it? So when it hasn't been started, we want to teleport them to the marker. which is called off screen. And if it has been started, we want to just teleport it to 0, 0. So I don't think I'm sure there used to be a yeah, I think I'm going to need a marker at 0, 0 just to make this easy. So again, we'll teleport the vintage boxes, and we need a new marker there, which is at 0, 0. Let's just do that. It's one quick fix. So back in the scene, create a marker 2D. Let's just call it, I'm going to call it 0, 0, because then I'll remember it. And it is at 0, 0. So let me just drag that back on screen so you can see it. And we're going to move that to marker 2D 0, 0. So we basically shouldn't see, while it's false, while we're not at that vintage sample bit, we shouldn't see any of them. And we should be able to just test this out pretty quickly. So we'll go to variables. It's currently set to false. So when we enter this scene, we shouldn't see any of those things. Turn the lights on first, of course. Turn the lights on, and you can see we can't see any of those boxes that we've just set up that are all part of that. So not visible. If I then just go variables, vintage samples, and set it to true, as if we've got to that bit of the story where he's looking for vintage samples. When we turn the lights on, they're not working. Fantastic. I've proved myself, as usual, on a live stream. I don't know what I'm talking about. This should have jumped back. Why is that? That is strange. I don't quite understand why they haven't. He says, scratching his head. This is going to be one of them ones where someone then messages me and goes, did you ever work out how to do that? I'm just going to play it in this mode so we can see where they are. Go to scene mode. Go to vintage boxes. Oh, they're in a very strange place. So why have they gone to that position? I know why. Because I didn't zero out this. Oh no, I did, look. 0, 0. That is strange. It is definitely at 0, 0 because I can see it there. But they have not moved to 0, 0. Ah, interesting. That's why, because their hotspots parent, for some reason, at some point in time in the last 7 months, has been moved to a funny position that isn't 0, 0. And because they're inside that, that is screwing them up. So there are probably a variety of different fixes. The problem is if I 0, 0 the hotspots thing, all the other hotspots in the scene are going to be in the wrong place. So it's a pure mistake from possibly months ago. What I'm going to do is move vintage boxes out of the hotspot thing. They're going to have to exist out of here. And you can see they've been assigned that weird value as well. Let's reset that transform. No, it's not going to work, is it? Because they actually need to be now at that weird position. So ultimately, let's copy that position. Let's go to the marker 0, 0, paste that position there. because that's where we want them to be when they're in their right place. Yeah, so I'm just having to fix a problem here that I've caused somewhere ages ago by not having my, for some reason, having my hotspots not at 0, 0. I don't know why I've done that. I might have even just accidentally moved them at some point and set them all up in the wrong place. So that should work. Vintage boxes will get sent to there. And then the off-screen one doesn't particularly matter. It's miles away. Let's have a look then. So they should be in the right position now, hopefully. Yeah, so there's the cardboard box. There's that. So this is because we've got it set to true at the moment. If I leave, I then I don't know if does it let me change this on the fly now. Set to false. Go back in. And now so they've all disappeared now because they're now off the screen. Go back out, set to true, go back in, and then they all appear again. Yeah, so it's saving me having I can crack on now and make lots and lots of different boxes, add them to that group, and then I just have to change that one global variable during that conversation with the strange fish guy, and then they'll all be available from that point forward. So a bit of a roundabout way, but these are the things that happen when you're months into development of something quite complicated. At some point, I must have just knocked or slid the parent hotspot thing across a little bit, which is offset it. Like nothing else is offset. Don't know how I've managed to do that, but that is my rescue rather than trying to move everything else across. Because all of these have got their own positions as well. And I'm no mathematician to minus that from all of them and work it out quickly, so I'm not going to do that. Right, so I can continue on and make more boxes now. What I'll do, because I'm going to have to kind of call it a night pretty shortly, I think I've been on for 2 hours now. I'll go to the scene where that conversation happens and let's change that variable so we've at least got it set up correctly. When I come back to this, I'll remember to do that. So it is in shop floor act 2 when there is a cutscene, conversation with the fish guy. So this is it. Hello, he nearly calls him by his name, and that's because he knows him, but you as the player don't know that he knows him. Hello sir, I'm hoping you can help me. Some 15 years ago I purchased a simply fabulous Axminster weave carpet from this store, with the most hypnotising and intricate pattern, the likes of which we sadly no longer see today. So all the dialogue happens here, and there's various dialogue branches and options you get as the player. And it plays little bits of animation where he looks about shiftily and things like that. His goldfish, Mr. Chips, had an unfortunate run-in with the neighbour's cat. All of that goes on. You might remember that from an earlier live stream. It's a big conversation, this one. But then ultimately, when we come out the end of it, Clive says, I better go and take a look in the storeroom. So I've got a weird zoom issue happening there with that. Better go take a look in the storeroom. It turns off the letterbox. So this is where we want to change that variable. So just in there, we're going to do a variable global, set vintage samples, set it to true. So then we've kind of set off on that, looking for vintage samples. That then ends the cutscene. And then we'll be ready to be able to go into the storeroom at that point and all of those boxes that I'm going to add. And I'll do that off stream. I'm going to add some more boxes to it. I'm going to write some witty dialogue for each of the boxes and things like that. That will be something for another stream, I think. Right. I think that's probably it for this evening. Massive thank you to new people on the stream. Shout out to James, who first time seeing him on the stream. Thanks for your input earlier on. Brian, welcome along. You've watched my first video today, which was fantastic, and it saved you some time slicing things in Airspray. That is great. Hello to Arcaraska from Chile. Fantastic to have somebody in from the other side of the planet, which is great. And of course, regulars like Kyle. I haven't seen Chris this evening, but he's usually here at some point as well. Huge thank you for subscribing. Please leave some comments. These live streams generally are me just cracking on with things, so they come fairly low planned. But if you missed the start of it, I went through this animation at the start of the whole game. I'll play that back for you now, which was getting the introduction done for the very first scene of the game. I'll just run that full screen as we're talking. So it was doing this little bit. Oh, it hasn't worked. Look at that. Try that again. I think it's because I just swapped monitors at the same time. Setting up this fade in, setting up this like little camera zoom. I did some of the artwork for the interior there that you can see. This little dog that comes along, cocks his leg, has a wee on the shop, just setting the scene as you begin that, and then coming into Clive hoovering at the start. So like that stuff was at the start of this live stream. Everything that you can see so far in this game, as you'll know, is there on YouTube. I've been doing this from the very first day that I drew that shop. So yeah, really great to have people along, really grateful of all the support, but please do leave some comments, please do leave any questions. If there's anything that you've seen me struggle with, I'm by no means an expert. I've been doing Adventure Creator and Unity stuff for quite a few years, but there's always different ways of doing things, and I'm totally welcome to hear people's thoughts on that. Arcaraska, yeah, I'm pleasure to share my game journey, really, and yeah, long may it continue, hopefully. Not too long though, because I'd like to get this game finished at some point. So thank you so much for joining, and I will probably be back same kind of time next week, about 7:30 GMT. Thanks for following, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.